My postcard today is from one of Britain's most historic towns, the administrative centre of the county of Lancashire. The postmark is stamped the Borough of Preston. My first stop was at the Museum of Lancashire to find out more about Lancashire. We're in Preston, and yet if you go to Lancaster, which of course where Lancashire presumably gets its name from, Lancaster, Lancashire, as in Chester and Cheshire, York and Yorkshire, there's this dispute as to who is really the county town. Can you tell us which?
It's quite simple, really. The town started off being Lancaster and has been moved to Preston.
So in other words, Lancaster is the historic county town.
And Preston is the current county town.
Right, got it. So no letters to me or to Stephen, please, if you disagree with that one. You've got some maps here. Maybe you can take us through these. Right.
Well, to begin with, as you can see, Lancashire began really with this little area here between the Mersey and the Ribble. By 1072, which is really in the middle of William the Conqueror's reign, we would be talking about the area between the Mersey and right up to the Lune. By the 1090s, Lancashire was also including parts of what are now the Lake District, parts of what are now Cumbria. So we've got a huge area, in fact, separated by Morecambe Bay. Lancashire almost on two sides of the sands, as it were.
Now, that's another interesting point, because of course Cumbria County Council now administers what locals would call Lancashire North of the Sands. Now I can see up here you've got the early boroughs in Lancashire, and the earliest being Lancaster, Preston where we are today, Liverpool and Wigan. But did those early boroughs actually elect anyone to Parliament, or was it later on that this became more of a thing for the people to actually elect their MPs?
Well, Lancashire was electing MPs to Parliament from a pretty early period. In fact, some towns even elected 2 MPs. Perhaps my favourite example of how chaotic it could be was Clitheroe in the 17th century. Tiny town, elected 2 MPs, 40 electors got 2 MPs to Parliament, and there were almost as many alehouses as there were electors.
So the people themselves didn't have much of a say then, did they?
No. The franchise was very narrow. There were only a few people actually voting. And I should imagine with the amount of drink and incentives flying around, it would have been a pretty rowdy thing.
Well, we're in Darwin Clink here. Darwin's in East Lancashire. And we really are in prison, aren't we?
We are. We're completely incarcerated in a cell which was actually in use from about 1860 right through to 1978. And so antiquated it was possible to move it straight from the police station into a museum.
It's incredible that it was still in use just, a few years back. There's the door with a load of, well, what do we call it, graffiti, or do we just call it part of history now? It's got here, next to sex, I love my Suzuki, someone's carved in there. And you've got all kinds of, well, the inmates, I think, have left their mark on that door. Would this have been the bed?
It would indeed, although bed is perhaps rather an optimistic
would they have had a mattress, or would it have been just like this?
I think later on, certainly during the 1960s, 1970s, they would have had a bit of a mattress on top of this. But presumably in the middle of the 19th century, it'd be straight on these wooden boards.
I think this toilet, this loo, is absolutely incredible. We've got all the people who spent some time in Darwin Nick, and I really don't want to look down the pan. That isn't authentic, is it?
It's awfully realistic.
Good answer. We'll never know. Down the Po. Now, on the day I visited Preston's Museum of Lancashire, they were holding a special exhibition about Lancashire at war. World War II, that is. And yes, carrots are still good for you today, children. Now, Anderson shelters were named because of who?
Because of Dr. Anderson. And they were designed really to spread the population out across the landscape. If you got a direct hit on one of these, it might not help you very much, but the fact that you had a bit of cover and that people were spread in small groups around the town rather than in huge shelters certainly helped save quite a few lives.
Well, my nan, who lived in Ruislip in Middlesex, just at the back of RAF Northolt, had one of these right up until, well, goodness me, I think just a few years back when they then pulled it down. And it was covered in concrete as well over the top. So I spent many happy time playing whist with my nan in one of those. And how many were erected around Lancashire? Loads?
Must have been many thousands. And in fact, it's quite interesting that people who couldn't afford them were actually given them. But if you could afford one, then you had to pay your £7 or £10 to get your Anderson shelter.
Now, here's something, again, that I've seen. A prefab, and there are still people living in prefabs, aren't they?
Yes, indeed. People are still living in prefabs today. But not many people know that it's at least the second time that Britain had prefabs. Because during the English Civil War, they decided to erect temporary buildings for people to live in after places had been destroyed. And there were complaints in the 1660s that people had been living in these temporary buildings for 20 years and more. So history's repeated itself with the humble prefab.
That's wrong. Because Preston is such an ancient borough, there is so much going on in the town. It really is a centre of Lancashire culture. Now, you wouldn't expect to find this in Preston, would you? But here it is, the Harris Museum in all its glory. Now, here's something to unravel. We've got the very well-known site of the Preston Lamb on your historic coat of arms here in Preston. And underneath has got PP. Now, my family up in Full would say that PP stands for Proud Preston, but when I then came here and spoke to somebody, they said, it doesn't mean Proud Preston at all. What does it mean?
Well, it's Pax Princeps, actually, and that's the Latin phrase for Prince of Peace. And although the PP does stand for that, for many people, PP does stand for Proud Preston, because since 1950, that has been the emblem, and people over the years have grown up with that phrase, Proud Preston, and I think they like that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've seen actually, when you see Preston North End Football Club on television, they have those banners like up with the Union Jack, and across it they've written Proud Preston. So it's obviously something that stuck.
Oh, it has. It's something that stuck. I don't know who it was who first thought it was Proud Preston, because, as I said, it's Pax Princeps, Prince of Peace, but I think Prestoners really do like the term Proud Preston.
Well, let's unravel another mystery now, Howard, because I want to go round there because I've just seen it, and I want to unravel now a Preston Guild, and don't take a Preston Guild getting round here, all right? Now, up in Lancashire, they have a phrase, which is, oh, it takes a Preston Guild for that to happen. And what that really means is something that takes a very long time. So, for instance, if Granny goes off into the kitchen and bakes cakes, Mum might say, oh, by the time Gran's gone and done those cakes, it'll be a Preston Guild. And that's what it really means, doesn't it, Howard? A long time.
It does. It means a long time, because that is the break between each Preston Guild. It's once every 20 years that Preston Guild is celebrated.
Right. And it stems back to when?
It stems back from being granted a royal charter in 1179. And the guild developed from then. It was a group of people, business people and traders, that got together to trade and to do business and to protect each other's trade, basically.
And it was about 1542 that this every 20 years came into being, wasn't it?
Yes, since 1542, the guild has been celebrated every 20 years and still continues to do to this day.
Now, come on, be honest, you're a Preston man in Preston. Do you say that to people about a Preston
Yes,
Guild?
I do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. It's a popular phrase, and it's a true Prestonian phrase
Well,
too.
the last time I heard someone say it was actually Hilda Ogden in Coronation Street. She said to Stanley, it takes you a Preston Guild to take me out for a drink. So obviously Hilda got taken out every 20 years by Stan for a drink. And this is some of the gubbins that goes with it in here, isn't it?
This is our display.
Well, this is Preston Market, and I've spent many, many happy years going round here. You can see all sorts of people. Hello. And You get lots of nice cheap things. And when I was a very, very poor person, I came here, and now I also come here still. What are you doing there? Get funny people. Not as funny as folk, they say in Lancashire. Look, you get a bit of everything here. You get everything, don't you? You can get everything in Preston Market, can't you? How long have you been here?
Oh, about 25 years, 26
Have you
years.
really? Almost a Preston Guild.
That's right.
See, she knew what I meant. A Preston Guild. And what sort of things do you sell then? Bit of everything?
Bit of everything, yes. Watches, watches, umbrellas, watch straps, batteries.
And that's what Preston Market's good for. If you look down there, they have, you know, whatever you want, you can get here, can't you?
That's right, yes.
You know, what's your name?
Veronica.
That's Veronica, and she's a Preston Market person. Nice to see you, Ron. Bye. Now, this is a memorial to the men of Preston who fell in 1914, 1918, 1939, 1945, First and Second World Wars. But of course, there's another very important battle that took place in Preston, the Battle of Preston. And it was here in Avon Park, just over there by the bridge, in 1648, that the battle took place. In 1648, on the bridge over the River Ribble, Oliver Cromwell and Charles I clashed. Oliver won, sealing forever the fate of King Charles I. And now all is peace down by the Japanese gardens.